We're kicking off season 2 with an exciting episode.
Yes, we're in a studio, Helen, for the first time ever. We're recording audio and video. We have 3 cameras. We have a very special guest. We're going to be talking about aliens, ETs, and our cosmic origin with ISMAEL Perez. Let's welcome ISMAEL to the show. How you doing, ISMAEL?
I'm well. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, this is a much anticipated episode. We're excited to have you here. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I consider myself an awakened starseed, a cosmic ambassador to the Earth, representing an intergalactic alliance of many benevolent worlds that are waiting for the Earth to be restored back to not only the galactic community, but to the entire cosmic community.
I recall from an Instagram live that you were born awakened.
Yes.
What was childhood like? What was it like growing up?
You know, it was, it's almost like I didn't know where I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 4 years old when I realized that I had these abilities that no other kid had. My cousins didn't have it, my brother and my sister didn't, my siblings didn't have it. I was able to communicate with animals.
Telepathically.
Yes, and animals and plants as well. I was able to pick up on energy, feel things before they happened.
Right.
And when I was 5, I felt like I was one with the unified energy field that is all around us. What, you know, they would call in Star Wars the Force.
The Force.
And this field of intelligence that permeates all of existence, that exists within us and all around us, I felt like it was part of my consciousness. So I started playing with telekinesis at the age of 5. And unfortunately, one day my grandmother walked in the middle of me teleporting, you know, toys from one part of the room to the next, practicing or, you know, using telekinesis. And she thought I was Damien, the devil's son. So she called, no, it was crazy. I was kind of like shocked that she came in and started saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You know, calling the local priest to come throw holy water on me.
She had no clue. She was unaware. She thought you were just possessed by the devil.
Absolutely.
Essentially.
Yes. Totally religious person.
Right.
Catholic.
Okay.
So she called the local priest. They came in with holy water. They sprayed it on me. And they started asking me, you know, who are you? What are you? And I was like, I'm Ishmael. I'm Ishmael. No, the entity inside you. I'm like, there is no entity inside me. This is, I'm just a kid, you know. What are you guys doing? Questioning me about who I am. So it was very tough, you know, even recalling situations where I was interacting with my cousins. I was always spacey because I was always a visionary. I was always having visions of the future. And so my whole family thought it was weird.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have access to your past life memories?
Then I didn't. But after I shut down my abilities due to the religious indoctrination and the, you know, my family causing me to suppress my abilities, I later awoken again during my early 20s. And then that's when I started accessing past life memories as to who I was. I was tapping into what most would call the Akashic records. Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you. So you are the fantastic author behind our cosmic origin. I'll show it to the cameras. How did this book come about? You told me earlier that it took you 10 years to write.
Oh yeah. The reason being is because I was being guided the whole time. I felt like my higher self, you know, I call it my galactic self. You know, I made a video the other day on Instagram indicating that we starseeds are not only existing here, but we're actually simultaneously existing in the motherships. On the mothership, exactly.
On the motherships.
Is that considered multidimensional too?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. So we are multidimensional. We just don't have memories or perception of our existence in these other realms and densities or dimensions of reality. But we do exist on different frequencies.
Right.
And that explains why we only use 4%, but we could just answer your question. So I started getting, you know, through my own inherent understanding of things, knowing that I was different, I started getting downloads. I started meditating. So it was through meditation that I was able to actually access information beyond the scope of this realm or this world. I was having memories of these galactic wars that were taking place in our galaxy.
In Orion,
in Orion.
specifically.
Well, basically in Lyra. The wars were started in Lyra.
Gotcha.
Yes, we were attacked by the Orions. And so I was having memories as to who I was in those wars. I was actually, you know, the king of Lyra.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was.
We're speaking with the king of Lyra, everybody.
All hail.
But
Continue.
thank you for that. But I'm very humble, you know. I don't expect to be called king.
By the
or
way, this
anything.
guy is like massive. Like, I work out a lot, but this is when I stand next to this dude, this guy is just like, all right, well, I'm just going to quit working out now. But anyways, good.
It's me trying to keep up with my galactic avatar, because my galactic avatar, as your galactic avatars, are very well in shape, and everyone's fit in the fifth entire dimensions. Yeah, we don't deal with these
less
mortal
dense, less dense,
yeah. More light body,
more light bodies.
So our physique is more. It's fit. Guys are really buff with six packs, and women look like goddesses. Very fit toned and perfect abs.
Yeah. Nice. I mean, off topic. How many times a week do you work out?
Every day.
Every
I'd probably
day.
take 1 day off. Maybe 1 day off a week. Just relax.
One day off. All right. Next question. But yes, before we get into the nitty gritty, please purchase our Cosmic Origin. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. It's a great book, and thank you again for this information, this knowledge.
You're welcome. It's my contribution to humanity in these times of awakening.
Perfect.
So let's go ahead and jump in. Can you tell us about the 7 super universes?
Sure, Helen. The 7 super universes are considered eventuated realities. They don't have a beginning or end, like the experimental local universes that exist within the lower spheres of reality. So in the beginning, there was just one singular consciousness that existed in the form of what we call a always existing realm, infinite state of eternity, in which many have called the motherverse. Scientists call it the metaverse, cutting edge science through quantum physics and superstring theory and those avenues of study. But in terms of the esoteric and metaphysical studies, it is known as the central universe.
The grand central universe.
Grand central universe, yes.
Gotcha. And when you say metaverse, not to be confused with Facebook's metaverse. Two different things.
Yeah.
Do you think, this is just a question here, do you think the people behind Facebook are aware of this and are trying to spin the metaverse in such a way that works for their narrative?
Absolutely.
They are.
Yes, it's part of the inversion of the original organic truth.
Right. Wow. When I first heard of the metaverse, just instantly just cringed when Facebook came out with it. I just did not feel good about it whatsoever.
And many of us didn't.
Right. You mentioned that there are 7 super universes. What is, and you mentioned this in your book, what is the significance of the number 7? Why 7?
Okay, so going back to the original state of infinity, which was one singular consciousness, that consciousness, which existed in the middle of the void of all darkness, one day got bored and decided to explore more of itself. And so, and also to understand is that that's the state of existence that scientists would call base reality, where it's not simulation, it's something that has always existed. Pure consciousness, in other words.
Right.
In terms of light, it is the light before going through the glass, creating the different
refracts the 7 different colors. That's why it's 7.
It's 7. So exactly. So that's how the 7
colors of the
super
rainbow
came about.
Gotcha.
It was that singular source consciousness first dividing itself into 7 aspects of itself,
right?
Each one with its own color, its own vibration, its own characteristics. But yet, at the same time, due to the holographic concept of reality, each one also containing the whole of the motherverse within each aspect of the 7.
So each containing the whole, the sum of its parts containing the whole.
Absolutely.
Was that the result of the separation?
Yes.
That was the initial separation, or the Big Bang as mainstream science knows it.
Yeah, the initial cosmic immaculate conception.
Right. Right.
That's the true meaning of the Immaculate Conception.
And why is our universe the only universe that has yet to ascend back to its original source?
Very good question, Helen. And many people have asked me that question. It turns out that our local universe in which we belong to is the end result that will complete the organization of the super universe of Orvonton. So as mentioned, there are 7 super universes in which this metaverse or the central universe first divides into. Our local universe belongs to the 7th segment, known as Orvonton.
Gotcha.
And so within the 7th segment, our local universe was designed by the Council of Aversa, which is the order of the Ancient of Days, of those, which is those that are governing the different realms within the 7 super universe, to create a universe in which it would act as a culmination, involutionary and evolutionary of all the universes that have existed prior to the creation of our universe. So our universe is kind of like the potpourri and the grand finale of
the grand finale. As you've mentioned in your book, you said this is the final battle and resolution of duality in this universe on this earth.
Yes.
So what does that mean to be incarnated on Earth at this time?
It is the best thing ever for the souls that are down here in these, new vehicles that were designed for us, because we are considered the, biological royalty of the entire multiverse that it exists within the periphery of the seventh super universe.
Right.
We are the end result of all that. We carry within our genetics all the genes of all the human races that have existed prior to the development of our last creation.
This is huge.
Very huge.
This is huge, and this is knowledge that everyone should know,
Yes.
should become aware of at some point.
That they are royalty.
My God, right? Just chills going up and down my body.
Well, and then so I saw that on your Instagram that you talked about Eternals. It has a lot of representation of what you just shared, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tiamat, Draconians are in Eternals.
Absolutely. Yeah. They use a lot of symbolism.
Are they doing this on purpose?
I think it's part of the awakening
Part of the
disclosure
awakening
process.
disclosure.
Yeah. The original writers of Marvel Comics, before they were given over to Disney, because Disney's controlled by the dark side.
The Cabal.
The Cabal, exactly. Were actually intending to bring about disclosure through comics because they were told not to disclose what's really going on.
So it's right. It's in plain sight.
Absolutely.
Everything is in plain sight. You just have to read between the lines.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, most people see it as sci-fi.
Right. Myth.
Exactly. But it's also the same way done with DC Comics. You
Right.
know, it's bringing back mythology.
Right.
The idea that Atlantis did exist. You know, when you think of the latest Justice League movie, it's about how during the first threat to the Earth, when what's his name, the Destroyer of Worlds, what's his, not
Thanos?
Doomsday,
No, in DC.
Oh,
Darkseid.
DC,
Darkseid
Darkseid.
came to the Earth for the first time. There was a union of warriors. You know, the Atlanteans joined the battle. The Olympian gods
Yeah.
joined the battle, and even off-world helpers in the form of the Green Lantern Corps came to join the battle. So it was an alliance of all these different benevolent forces that were trying to preserve the Earth in those times. But you know, the truth of the matter is all that stuff really took place.
Right.
But Darkseid was under a different name.
Right.
It wasn't Darkseid. You know, it was something else. So
Right.
there's a lot of truth to these comics. Yeah.
Yeah. And these beings go through different names over different time spans at different eras.
Exactly. Right. Yes, exactly.
On Earth, the souls that currently reside on Earth are 80% ancient, 20% middle-aged, and there are very few new souls on Earth. Is this accurate?
80% ancient.
Ancient.
The souls that are here on the Earth.
Yes.
It's actually the other way around. Yes, there's only about 10 or 11, 12% of the population that are ancient souls, and
Okay.
the 87 or 89% of the population are newbie souls or younger souls.
And I've heard the best of the best come here.
Yes, within the 10, 12%, the best of the best came here from the higher realms, and that's what we consider the star seeds and
Gotcha.
the different indigo, crystal, and rainbow children.
Right. Will there be more children that will be born awakened?
Absolutely. And they're actually already starting to come in fully awakened, just like I did. I was just one of they had to send me a little early. You know, they had to send me, but my time, most of the children that are coming in fully awakened are actually coming in as of 2012.
Gotcha.
2012.
So I want to talk about how there's 3 categories of space-age civilizations. Can you explain what those 3 categories are?
Yeah, according to the Kardavish scale of extraterrestrial civilizations, all civilizations that exist within the space age community fall under 3 categories. But technically, there's actually 5. But let me go over with the first 3. So the first one is known as an interplanetary society or civilization, which is a civilization that is in the beginning stage of space travel. They no longer use fossil fuels. They no longer use plants. They no longer use, carbon-based petrochemical substances like we do when we launch, rocket ships, which
Right.
fail most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah, they use zero-point field. They use planetary power. And that's what allows them to soar off not only into our local vicinity within our star system, but also within other star systems. But they only have access to a few star systems.
Right.
So those are considered a planetary society. The next level of that would be considered a stellar civilization. Now, stellar civilization is known to be a few thousand years of a planetary society. At that point, they have already mastered interdimensional physics, zero-point energy, and are able to manipulate wormholes and stargates due through their interdimensional understanding of physics.
Interesting.
And they're able to now have access to an entire galaxy. So that's what you call a stellar civilization.
Gotcha.
The next level up is known as a galactic civilization. Now, a galactic civilization is hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years of a planetary civilization, a few million years of a zero I guess, level 0 civilization, which is primitive, kind of like where we're at, but we're
We're at a
transitioning.
0.5.
No, we're
right?
actually at a 0.9.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we're getting
Almost
ready
there.
to, yeah, almost there, Helen. We're actually in the midst of a transition between a 0 point level of society to a type 1.
Oh, geez.
And it's going to happen within our lifetimes, actually within the next few
We
years.
were type what? 2, 3 before?
During the times of Atlantis, we
Atlantis?
were actually a type 2.
Type 2.
Yes.
Gotcha. We've regressed.
We've regressed, unfortunately, to the infiltration that took place by the Draco or the negative aliens during the times of Atlantis. So a type 3 is millions of years ahead of a type 0. It's hundreds of thousands of years ahead of a type 1, and a few thousand years ahead of a type 2. And what makes a type 3 different is that not only are they able to harness star power from as many suns as they want, but they're actually able to harness the entire power of an entire galaxy by tapping into the galactic core.
Wow.
Yeah, at that point, you consider yourself immortal. They use about 48 strands of DNA.
48.
48 strands, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, we're only using 2 strands here.
Two
Yeah.
strands.
2 strands.
Like you said, we're operating at 10% capacity.
Not even that.
Not
4%,
even that.
4%,
God.
according to research, yeah.
My God.
On the topic of DNA,
Yeah,
sure.
when you become more light beings, we've talked about like you become, the DNA becomes more crystallized,
Absolutely.
Crystalline based?
crystalline based. Do you know if like it goes from carbon to silicone or like
It does.
it's
Oh,
carbon
you're right.
silicone?
Yeah.
It does. So as we become part of a type 1 civilization, we are actually going to be using both carbon and silicon base, and our bodies are going to be upgraded. Instead of living for 100 years, we're actually going to have a lifespan of a few hundred years.
Few hundred.
And that's the actual lifespan of civilizations that exist within a type 1 interplanetary culture. Yeah. And then in comparison, a type 2 interplanetary culture, they have inhabitants that live up to a couple thousand years to 3,000 years, because they're using.
Or the Syrians also
The
live up
Syrians
to.
they're a type 3.
Type 3.
They're galactic. Yeah,
Galactic,
those are the overseers and pretty much the grand directors of the forces of light here within our galaxy. Yeah, they're at the head of the Federation and all the light stations.
Gotcha. Our records have been edited and condensed to show one wavelength, one spectrum of reality. Why has this been done?
Because during the times of Atlantis, the powers that took over not only erased the true history of the Earth, which connects to the galactic history of our Milky Way, but what they did is they took the existing Terranusian race, which was a 12-strand race of beings who are our real ancestors. We do not come from monkeys. Let me just repeat that again, people. We do not come from apes.
We have primate DNA within us, but we did not evolve from apes.
No,
Not at all.
It's actually the other way around. We came from above. We devolved from galactic humanoids.
As you call in your book, involution.
Involution, yeah.
Involution.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we've been part of this process of involution, which is the actual descent of spirit into matter through the lowering of frequency and vibration. And so going back to your original questions, the reason we were only led to use only 4% was because the powers that took over actually untangled, or they unplugged 12 strands.
We were essentially unplugged.
Yeah, we were essentially unplugged from accessing our, galactic consciousness.
Multidimensional
And
consciousness.
multidimensional consciousness, absolutely. And they did it in order to control us. They did it by putting some implants within our etheric bodies, causing the pituitary gland to shut down, as well as 90% of our brain that became unfunctional as a result of these implants. And they did it in order to reduce us down to savages, right above the level of Neanderthal, in order for us to just become a type of race that would just take orders by these new powers that took over the affairs of the earth during the Atlantean decline. Yeah.
For the non-spiritualists out there who will be listening to this, watching this, the wheels are going to be turning.
I hope so.
Which is part of the point, right?
Yeah.
Which is part of the point. A lot of the stuff is I've learned over the years, and it's still, whenever I relearn this stuff, it still like hits me in the core. I went through a deep dark depression. We talked about this in the last episode, where I woke up to the society of domination and control. I threw my hands up, threw all the books down, and didn't want to do anything. So just thanks to people like you who continue to put this information out there. So thank you again.
Well, like I said, I feel like I'm being an instrument. I'm being used by
Higher
something
forces.
greater than myself. So all the thanks goes to Creator Source.
Creator.
Because Creator Source is the one that has been guiding me throughout the I guess, my research and my downloads.
And this is a divine meeting right now.
Very divine, yeah.
Very divine.
As an example, I think to point out for listeners, since our podcast is called Awaken Now, what when you are more spiritual, right? Like just like Ismael just exemplified, you really don't feel like it's you, right? Because you is ego,
Exactly.
right? And you're just here
Something
to
is
channel.
working
And
through you.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you give
like
all
that.
credit to the collective, the greater, the greater, what I call infinite intelligence,
Yes.
base reality.
Base reality.
Yeah.
As you say. So because we were unplugged, is that why we are only able to perceive 4% of the universe?
Yes, that's a perfect mathematical correlation. We're only using 4% of our full genetic material. Therefore, we're only using 4% of our full mental capacity. And as a result of that, about 96% of our reality has been missing. And this is where scientists put some names and label it, calling it dark matter.
Dark matter. Can you explain what dark matter actually
Yeah.
is?
Absolutely. So basically, when astronomers observe the sky and they see all those galaxies, they're only perceiving the 4%. Those galaxies exist within the 4%. The other 96% is what they would call dark matter and dark energy. But what they fail to realize is that that's reality vibrating at higher dimensions than the 11th dimension.
That we
or
can't
the fourth,
perceive
that we
with the
cannot
human
perceive.
eye.
Yeah, now we're going into the realms of the local universes, which encompasses dimensions 11 and 12. And then we're also going into the realms of the mother or the super universe, which encompasses dimensions 13 and 14. And then finally going into the realm of the mother central universe, which includes dimensions 15. And even within the 15-dimensional higher level of reality, there's also other dimensions that are growing as a result of the expansion of the motherverse. So yeah, we're dealing with infinity.
Always infinity.
Simply put, there's lots more going on than we can actually perceive.
Always. Always. So knowing that Earth was originally known as Tiamat, could you tell us how Tiamat was destroyed?
Sure. Okay, so Tiamat was known as a super Earth. Our Earth was 4 times the size of our current Earth. Back then, we were much taller. We were actually anywhere from 12 feet to 36 feet. And so, and that explains all the different archaeological findings of
right.
these skeleton,
Huge
these
giants.
Exactly.
Giants.
So they came from Tiamat, and so during the times of Tiamat, Earth was part of the first seeding. So we had Tiamat, we had Mercury, Mars, Venus. We also have another planet called Maldek, which was also destroyed during the first, war that reached our neck of the woods. And then we also had Pluto, and the jovial planets, and then of course Nibiru. Nibiru was always the 12th planet, but Nibiru had an elongated orbit. It only came in every
3,600 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what happened in Tiamat was a gradual devastation. It was an infiltration that took place when the Draconians first sent out their scouting ships, their scouting scientists, to figure out why there was this peaceful, harmonious community that was growing on Tiamat. We had, I know, it was beautiful. It was like what we would consider an intergalactic paradise,
Right.
where all these galactic species would come together and coexist in harmony.
It was peace.
Yes,
It was love. It was harmony.
it was
as you
harmony,
said.
brotherhood, sisterhood,
Wow.
of one. They all believed and honored the sacred law of one.
Right.
Yeah, the sacred divine law of one. And then, unfortunately, when the scouting Dracos arrived, they started reporting the situation back to the Orion generals, and they started infiltrating it. And eventually, they couldn't infiltrate it because the Tiamat Council of Light, which was then known as the Covenant of Pallador, which was headed by the Syrian High Council. It was run by the Syrian High Council. Wouldn't allow for the infiltration to fully take place. So what the Draco did in an effort to overtly try to destroy that harmonious civilization is they pretty much decided to create some sort of weapon system and destroy the entire inhabitants by using this weapon system. But the weapon system was also geared towards destroying the civilization that existed on Mars, the civilization that existed on Venus, and our entire solar system was then inhabited by coexisting galactic humanoids, species that weren't human. We had species that looked like dolphins, that looked like cat people. Everything that we have in the animal kingdom, we had species like that with humanoid bodies or hominid
The
physiques.
humanoid template, the 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 ears, 2 eyes.
Absolutely. And then of course they had their, whether it was a lion, whether it was a bear, whether some of them had bird faces, but they all had the hominid physique. And it was a peaceful coexisting, during those days. That was like 4 million years ago. And what happened was the Dracos launched a preemptive attack against what I call in my book the first great seeding of our solar system.
Right.
And then that's how Tiamat was destroyed. They went for the power generators, which was holding the electromagnetic field in place. And then when they snapped those generators, the entire planet went kaboom. So a portion of that planet later developed into what we call now the asteroid belt. And then a portion of that planet also later developed. The third.
Third, and Mu was the first.
No, the Mu was second,
Mu
and
was
then
second.
the first one was Tiamat.
Tiamat.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it's fascinating, like the wording is used seeding. So Earth is considered a living library. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. So is it true that life from all parts of the galaxy have been seeded here?
Yes. Not only our galaxy, from all over our universe, and all over the multiverse that are part of the seventh super universe segment of Orvonton, which consists of 100 million local universes.
So all the marine life, everything in our forests, everything, all the insects, basically have come from across the galaxy,
Across the multiverse.
across the multiverse. That is insane. And each human carries some sort of celestial DNA. All of them do, actually. All
On
of
Earth.
them do.
On Earth. Yeah, we carry the greatest diversity of celestial genetics, galactic genetics.
This is fascinating.
That's the involution, right?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
evolution. And that's why we're the masterpiece.
Yeah.
And that's why even the galactics and all the aliens consider us the hope of the multiverse. Because we were actually, in our original makeup, we were designed as an intergalactic race when the Earth was still under the, before it was controlled, before it was infiltrated by the dark side. We were designed to become the guardian race of the entire super universe of Orvonton from this planet. That's how special this planet is.
It's very special. It's the hot spot in the universe.
Very hot, yes. It's
The best place to be. There's a waiting line, essentially.
There is for souls to come down here and
For souls to
inhabit
come
these
down here.
bodies. Yes, these are the most advanced biological. Well, as we begin to tap into our crystalline silicone DNA, then we are considered the best natural organic technology that has ever been made.
My God, this is,
Fascinating.
the body is the most advanced piece of technology on Earth.
And it's a living technology
It's a
inhabited by
living technology.
consciousness, and spirit, and that's the difference between us and artificial intelligence.
Right. And so
I don't know. I need to highlight that for our listeners.
Yeah,
Consider
yeah.
your body as technology.
right. The most, and I tell this to my clients, it's the most advanced piece of technology out there. Requires proper maintenance, the highest maintenance, rather.
Yes.
Sleep, daily practice, meditation, daily care of your body, watching your thoughts, food. And so I implore the listeners and watchers out there to just love your body.
Yeah.
Self-love. Again, like we always talk
And
about.
care.
And care.
Yeah.
Self-care.
Treat it like a sacred temple.
A temple. No.
It's an ashram.
This is awesome, Ishmael. Thank you.
I love it. This is what I was born to do. I love
Yeah, it looks easy for you.
Yeah, it's just like,
fantastic. I know.
And to me, it's more about bringing this information to a wider our audience, because really what we're dealing
Which
with
is our
here
goal as well.
is we want to create this critical mass effect where once enough people become awakened and aware of the truth of the higher picture of the cosmos, I think that's when we're going to be in the initial stage of the age of Aquarius, living a new heaven on earth, or entering the golden age.
Right, because apparently we're at the end of the 26,000 year cycle and we're starting another one.
Yes, we are.
Gotcha. Age of
This
Aquarius.
year or
That ended
According to my research, and I even say to my book, by no later than 2024, Earth will be reinstated back to the galactic community
okay.
under a full, under the councils of light, where there is going to be no more evil. So we're heading there soon.
Wow. Yes, that's 2 years away.
That's why things feel like they're hitting the shit right now.
Things are accelerating.
Things are accelerating.
Yeah.
Things are accelerating. You just kind of take notice of all the societal issues and planetary issues going on currently. It's insane. It's crazy. our Earth has been quarantined since the Draconians took over. I heard that the quarantine was taken down in 2015. Is that correct?
Yes, actually. Yes, it was actually quarantined, not because okay, so let me go back. When the Draconians infiltrated us through the Atlantean times and destroyed Atlantis, the cosmic current that used to hold Earth and connected Earth through the 15-dimensional stargates, allowing Earth to exist in a multi-dimensional reality, became shut. So Earth was reduced to just one wavelength of reality at that point. And the Federation, or the good guys, had to actually intervene because they had already won the war in the galaxy, and in order to prevent this newfound tyranny here on this Earth after Atlantis from spreading across the galaxy again, they had to quarantine. So the quarantine took place by the forces of light in order to keep the dark or the fallen ones here trapped in our solar system, so that when the time was right, which is now at the end of the cycle, they would be zapped by the solar flare, or this event that's going to
The Great Solar Flash.
The Great Solar Flash, yeah, and be destroyed. And that event would usher in a whole new era, in not only for the Earth but for the entire galaxy.
So
Of
everyone's
peace, love, and light.
peace and light. Everyone's in for a huge spiritual evolution.
Absolutely, yes, and yes. To answer your question, the quarantine was lifted in 2015.
2015.
By the Syrian High Council, who is at the head of the Galactic Federation.
Now, we keep mentioning the Draconians. Can you explain to the listeners out there who have never heard of the Draconians before? Can you explain who they are?
Yeah, the Draconians is a hostile reptilian race. Let me just point out that in the multiverse, there's benevolent reptilians that are not hostile, and then there's regressive or malevolent reptilians that are very hostile. So the Draconians was a label given to those that are hostile. They originated in the solar system of Alpha Draconis, which is in Lower Orion. And from there, they were able to repopulate neighboring solar systems like Sigma Draconis, as well as Zeta Reticula 1 and 2, which is known as the Rambola system. And then from there, they created what became known as the Draconian Empire once they had a few systems in place. They also recruited lower biological entities such as the insectoids and
Greys.
the Zetas and the Greys.
Yeah.
In order to work with them as their soldiers.
Right.
So
They're pawns.
they're pawns, exactly. And then gradually they started expanding into the lower belt of Orion. And then the whole goal was to bring the Draconian Empire to the entire Orion constellation or region, and then eventually bring it to the entire galaxy. But they were blocked by the Federation and the Lyrans and the humanoid, the galactic humanoids, as I call in my book, who actually had a different philosophy and a different agenda to theirs. Yeah, so that's how the Galactic Wars began.
So these beings, the Draconians, are hostile. They're ruthless.
They're ruthless, yes. They're actually the children of Lucifer. They are what we would consider fallen angels.
Fallen angels.
And so because their body, their spirit was not able to incorporate or inhabit an avatar like us, which is what I call in my book the Adam Catmull, which is the humanoid face with the torso, the arms, and the legs. Right. Lucifer developed biogenetically engineered vehicles for these fallen, etheric beings from the higher dimensions to embody in order for them to continue the, Luciferian agenda, which is pretty much the domination and control of all existence in a dictatorship.
Dictatorship.
Yeah. So that's the origin of all dictatorships.
Right.
Yes, it was a bloodline that was actually transferred to the Earth, and that's who the families are today. They're a hybrid between Draco and humanoid.
What is the current state of Orion? The galactic wars have spanned millions of years in Orion.
Yes.
What is the current state of Orion?
As of 2014, Orion was recently liberated. Let me go back a little. Orion was originally liberated 15,000 years ago during when Atlantis was still at its golden age, where it was still peaceful before the infiltration. But what happened was many of the Dracos traveled into the future. They did time travel to recruit, to pop into our reality during the Nazi times and give Hitler the tech And so Hitler developed the first secret space program that became known as the Dark Fleet,
Right.
which was
Heard
an
about that.
allegiance between the Draco that came from the past into the future to create this, negative alliance. And so technically, yes, Hitler lost the war in the surface world, but he ended up winning the war in space, because what the Draco were doing is they were using these, again, since we are the chosen race, they took these Germans, and they genetically enhanced them to go back in time and then re-win the war against the Federation.
Whoa.
Yeah, to take it back from the Federation. So it was one of those things where time travel was involved, but then again, the forces of light under the leadership of the Lyran, Syrian, Pleiadian coalition also time traveled and created Solar Warden to counteract that. And so the war has been won twice in Orion. First in 15,000 years ago, and then secondly, just recently, thanks to Solar Warden in 2014. So that's when they were the super soldiers that were serving in these 20-year and back programs, were sent back to the Earth in 2014 after winning the war.
Fascinating stuff.
There are a couple, what do you call them?
Tire players?
Yeah, that you mentioned there. And just in case our listeners don't know, can you talk about the Syrians, the Palladians, the Greys?
Sure, yes. So the Coalition of Light in our galaxy is headed by the Syrian High Council. The Syrians are the highest evolved humanoids, which would be considered Type 3 in galactic civilization, capable of harnessing the entire planet, the entire power of an entire galaxy. And so the Lyrans are their physical counterparts, because the Syrians they're very etheric. They only operate with what is known as light body. They don't have physical bodies. They don't even have silicone-based bodies. They have what is known as hydroplasmic bodies. Yeah, which is beyond silicone. That's the next level up beyond silicone.
Right. We're not able to perceive them with the human eye.
No, they would appear to be invincible to us. And also bear in mind that all the dimensions coexist within the same space and at the same time. They're just on different frequencies.
Right.
So the Lyrans, who were considered the cradle of humanity in our galaxy, were actually the ones that created the first alliance of light with the Syrians, and then of course other galactic humanoids such as the Pleiadians joined, the Arcturians, those of the Andromedans, and different star systems eventually joined the Coalition of Light. But it all started with Sirius, and Lyrans. Yeah.
Lyrans. Have you read The Prism of Lyria by Alyssa Royal?
I've heard of it. I haven't had an opportunity though to read it.
Gotcha. It's basically a brief synopsis of galactic history.
Oh, nice.
So, but you give a little bit more detail. So, I want to talk about the power players in our galactic history. So we have King Anu, we have the Enlil, and we have the Enki. I would like to expand on these characters a bit further for those of you who have first heard about these people.
All right, so this is, I guess, something that everybody should know, that everything we know about the Anunnaki was mistranslated and jaded by the high priest of Marduk, Belial, who was considered the son of Enki. So they wrote them in a sense where they wanted to give all the glory to Enki as the good guy, and at the same time they were trying to throw Enlil under the bus, saying that he's the one who created the flood, he's the one who didn't want us to evolve, and he was trying to constantly destroy us.
Many records
have said that.
Contradict each other.
Exactly.
Enlil's the bad guy, Enki's the bad guy.
Right. But according to the Restored Niburian Council, this is how it all began. So we're dealing with two different galactic royal bloodlines. We're dealing with the bloodline of Michael, which originated in Lyra and Sirius, and then we're also dealing with the bloodline of Lucifer that originated in Alpha Draconis and Orion. So the bloodline of Michael is known as the House of Avion, which is represented by its animal emblem, the lion.
Right.
And then the bloodline of Draco is represented by the serpent, or what they call the lizard people. And so throughout the galactic wars, these bloodlines were at the core of the reason why these two different alien factions were warring each other. One of them wanted to establish the bloodline of Michael in a peaceful, harmonious way, following the law of one, the sacred law of oneness in the philosophy of unity consciousness, while the other one was trying to do the opposite of that and, destroy specimens, do whatever they want to do with other, galactic species. And so what happened in Sirius, in order to put an end to this, rivalry, they created what became known as the Lyran Anuhasi, which later became the Anunnaki, or what we call the Niburians. So the Lyran Anuhasi were the original Anunnaki. They were the Niburians before they came to the Earth, and they were the lineage of Michael through the Lyrian-Syrian alliance. And so eventually, when the Draco also infiltrated through their own bloodline, which was a combination of vegan royalty and draconian, and that gave us what became known as the hybrid Draco humanoid seed. They eventually infiltrated Nibiru. And so throughout the history of Nibiru, there was always a conflict because some of the descendants carried a higher concentration of the reptilian genetics, and then some of the descendants carried a higher concentration of the Lyrian Michael genetics. So there was always a clash between those two genetics throughout the Nibirian history. So basically, Anu, who was known as the king of the Nibirians during the times that the Anunnaki or Nibirians came to the earth, had more of the Michael bloodline. So he was the good guy. He was actually, fighting in this galactic war against the Draconian Empire. But for the most part, Nibiru was created as the Battlestar planet to put an end to the galactic wars. Okay, that's why they were known as the defender of the galaxy. And they served the light under the direction of the Syrian High Council. But what Anu did was, after the destruction of Tiamat, only about 2% of the reptilians survived.
2%.
Yeah, 2%.
On the surface.
On the surface. And in that 2%, we had Dramin, who was the Draconian queen representing the house of
Dramin.
Dramin. D-R-A-M-I-N. Dramin. And so she pleaded to Anu. She was, held hostage. She pleaded to Anu, please, don't kill me. I will now change sides to the light and give you intel so that you could win the Orion Wars against the Draco Empire.
Okay.
And so what happened was, one night she ended up getting Anu drunk and started dancing for him, very seductress, and she was a very, even though she was the queen of the Draco, she was also part humanoid, so she represented that mixture.
Okay.
She was, I guess, very attractive in Anu's eyes during the time of him being buzzed. And so she, according to the original story, she seduced him into having a child with him, and that's how Enki was born. Yes.
Wow.
When in actuality, Anu, who is a pure stock representative of the Lyrian Michael lineage, was supposed to marry his cousin Antu, who was the Pleiadian queen, also descendant of the original Lyrian house of Avion.